Breaking the news that's already broken. It's time for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107.
Scientists now say that the T-Rex had lips. See them for yourself by Googling dinosaur with lips and skipping all the photos of Mick Jagger. A Milwaukee man says he's been forced from his home after too many cars kept running into it. Luckily, a friend has offered him a new crash pad. Disney has started to enact its plan to lay off 7,000 workers. It's bad, too. As of this morning, 75 of the 101 Dalmatians have filed for unemployment.
It's 60 Minutes meets Gone in 60 Seconds. Tune in tomorrow for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107.
So embarrassing, man. Last week, I said yes, sir, to a woman. And she was cool about it, but it was still embarrassing. Good morning, I'm Rock 107's Prospector. Also, I sneezed into another couple's food. Yeah, I thought I was near a wall. I had both hands full. I knew if I sneezed into the crook of my arm, I was going to spill everything. So I sneezed. I turned to what I thought was the wall, and I sneezed right onto a couple in another booth. Talk about embarrassing. I felt like such a yambag. What's the most embarrassing thing you've done? That's what we're talking about this morning. Holly, checking in on Facebook.com/Angry Prospector, says, I missed a curb in New York City right in front of 30 Rock, right where the tree goes. I fell on my backside in front of all the tourists. The security guys came over. All the while I'm going, don't look at me. How about you?
I was at work one day, and a guy had thrown something out into the garbage can, and he missed. He went behind the garbage can, and they go, hey, don't worry about it, bro. Not like the cleaning lady does anything anyways, and she was right behind me.
Oh, very nice. How big of an idiot did you feel like?
Oh, I felt really small, and I looked back, and she had this look on her face like she wanted to kill me and cry.
Chuck says, I pulled up to the Burger King drive-thru speaker, ordered my food. My girlfriend at the time was in the car with me, and we came around the bend to come up to the window to pay to get the food, and that's where my van ran out of gas. It had a bad gas gauge, so I didn't know how much gas was left, but it ran out there, so I had to get out, push up to the window to get my food, pay for it, then push it out, smiling as much as I can the whole way. That's pretty embarrassing. How about you, Rock 107?
I forgot to turn my volume off on my phone in the middle of church, and the notification tone went off, like the sexy whistle, right in the middle of church. Oh, my.
Did Father turn around and like, what's going on in here?
Do you mean me, he said? I'm like, oh, my God, I forgot to turn my volume down.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad one, man. Looking for your stories, Rock 107.
Prospector, good morning. I got one for you.
Let's hear it.
I used to go to this little deli up in Montrose when I worked up there, and there's this cute little blonde that worked in there, and I go there all the time to get a hoagie or whatever. So then I hadn't been back for quite a few years, like 2 years. I rolled in one day on my motorcycle. I went in, and she was still working there. Mm-hmm. And I ordered up. We chit-chatted and said our greetings and hellos. And I said to her, I looked at her, I said, when's the baby due? And she goes, the baby? She says, I'm not pregnant.
You never, ever, ever ask a woman that. Never.
Never. It was horrible.
Of course it was. Gene says, I work construction and electrical industrial maintenance, so I get very dirty and sweaty, especially in the summer. So one day I get fully undressed in our basement laundry room to get the stuff into the laundry, and then I go to get to shower upstairs. Not a stitch of clothes on. I walked up the stairs, through the kitchen to the living room. There's my wife, my neighbor's wife, and two people they worked with enjoying a conversation. I'm the deer in the headlights for what seemed like an eternity. Finally, I covered my junk and ran like I was on fire. Oh, we have a winner.
Talk about serendipity, right? Good morning, I'm Rock 107's Prospector. A woman pulled alive from the rubble of that chocolate factory explosion in West Reading, PA that killed 7 of her coworkers says flames had engulfed the building and her arm when the floor gave way beneath her. And that might have been the end for her if she hadn't fallen into a vat of liquid chocolate. She was found a few days later by rescuers alive but severely dehydrated with lots of injuries. Here's the exclusive audio from the press conference of her talking about all this.
And now we present the Chocolate Factory Survivor press conference already in progress.
Thank you. First, I have a confession to make. Falling into the vat of liquid chocolate saved my life. I was frightened to my inner nougat. Luckily, I had a couple of Twix up my sleeve, but just kept yelling, Yoo-hoo! Somebody threw in marshmallows and nuts trying to save me. It was quite a rocky road. When I finally came out of the vat covered in chocolate, I heard snickers. Someone asked me how I felt afterwards. I said like $100,000. My husband was so happy to see me, he gave me kisses.
This has been the Chocolate Factory Survivor Press Conference. She was very sweet.
Life's pretty tough right now. There's plenty of bad news, but it's not all bad. It's time for the brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
An 18-year-old in England was diagnosed with high-functioning autism 2 years ago, and a friend told him he'd never be a doctor like he wanted to. But he was inspired to keep pursuing it after watching the show The Good Doctor about a surgeon with autism. Now he's headed to medical school later this year.
Thanks. We needed that. The brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
Time again for the Masters. The mastering of sports' smallest ball. Beginning this week on CBS.
What's a Yambag? A fool, an idiot, a blockhead, a dunce, or an ignoramus. You know, a dullard, simpleton, or a clot, nitwit, dipstick, pea-brain, mouth breather, or cretin.
It's now time to announce the winner of Prospector's Yambag of the Day, as decided by you at rock107.com.
Here are the nominees. Nominee number 1.
I know all you vapors are sneaking into airport bathrooms to take a puff, but this is a little more egregious. A guy got arrested at Las Vegas airport Monday last week for smoking meth inside one of the terminals. Meth. He pulled out a pipe and started openly smoking meth in one of the dining areas. Someone reported it. His name is Stephen Laster, and he is also wanted for violating his probation from a battery charge he picked up last year. He resisted when cops tried to cuff him, but eventually they got him into custody. According to an airport employee, he'd been hanging out at the airport since at least the previous day. It's not clear if he was a passenger or snuck into the terminal somehow. He's facing charges for violating airport public conduct rules, using or possessing drug paraphernalia, and violating probation.
Nominee number 2.
A 44-year-old man from Maryland is facing multiple years in prison after he bombarded his ex with non-stop calls back in December. Derek Bowers called his ex 815 times in just 2 days. Yeah, 48 hours. That's 17 times an hour, or once every 3.5 minutes if he didn't sleep at all, and that's nuts. But that's not all. Derek also sent his ex thousands of texts and Facebook messages over a few months, and he used social media posts to call her out and embarrass her. It sounds like Derek could use a job or a hobby, but he'll have to wait because he's been arrested and charged with cyber stalking. He's looking at up to 5 years in prison.
And the winner is
the guy who smoked meth in the Las Vegas airport. Not at the airport, inside, in the terminal. Yeah, you are the Yambag of the Day, and we'll move on to Friday's Yambag of the Week competition. Keep it here for all the nominees for Prospector's Yambag of the Day, weekday mornings on Rock 107.
Thanks for listening to Prospector's Prime Cuts podcast. Be sure to catch us live weekdays from 5:30 to 10 a.m. on Rock 107 or online at rock107.com or the Rock 107 app. A free download for your Android or iPhone. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss Prospector's Prime Cuts.